Well, the Toronto Blue Jays just got a series sweep.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube or the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB to win $50 instantly when you play $5. I'm Braden Wasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5 Wasco, Carter First 2, as well on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays as well. If you're new here on YouTube, make sure you drop that subscription. We just got a old subscriber subscribe with his new account. Appreciate that. Give him a little shout out. As well, if you're listening anywhere else, might as well pop on the YouTube. If you watch shorts or you want to be ready for the live streams, you can subscribe to the YouTube and also hit the bell notification so you guys know when we go live. A lot to talk about. It's sort of a pretty entertaining weekend of Blue Jays baseball. They get the sweep. We'll sort of get into the game by game sort of things that we noticed. Talk about Davis Schneider and his weekend from what seems like the start of the season. And of course, we got to talk about Vlad's defense going from third to first, making some nice plays. We'll get into all of that. We do have our series preview, but that'll come out tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in for that one to get that breakdown, as well as a ton more to come this week with Blue Jays baseball sort of coming to the end of the season. And I mean, Carter, 12 games remaining, 7.5 games back. Are you looking at a possible playoff chance here for the Toronto Blue Jays?
Hey, let's just go on a 15-0 streak to end the year. You look at who's left on the schedule. You got the Rangers, you got the Rays, the Red Sox, and the Marlins. Not sure if that's the exact order, but those are the games you have remaining. All those teams are not in a playoff spot. The Marlins are not a good team, obviously, one of the worst in the league. The Rays sold the deadline, as well as the Toronto Blue Jays. You got the Red Sox, who are probably the hardest team on that schedule. And then the Rangers, who we skipped DeGrom. There's a couple good pitchers on that team, obviously. Evaldi, I'm not sure if we have him as well on that slate, but who knows? Maybe the Jays screw around. They go maybe even a 14-1, maybe 13-2 down this little stretch here. The Twins, maybe they fall off a cliff and the Toronto Blue Jays squeak into the playoffs. What a world that would be. But what a fun week of baseball. The Toronto Blue Jays' fifth sweep of the year. Got swept 3 times. So if the Toronto Blue Jays are taking any little wins, the Toronto Blue Jays swept more teams than they got swept this year. So congratulations, Toronto Blue Jays. Hang that banner at the Rogers Center. How about we'll throw on that one for size? But I guess we'll just jump right into it. We'll start at the game that happened the most recently, Game 3 of this Toronto Blue Jays series. That's the Yariel Rodriguez start. So going into this weekend, you said this game was the one that you were going to be looking at most closely just because of this Yariel Rodriguez start. And we'll start right there. What did you see from Yariel Rodriguez? What you like, what you dislike, and just how do you view his overall performance?
Yeah, I thought it was very good. I liked everything he threw out. I mean, again, only 62 pitches thrown from Yariel Rodriguez. And again, they don't seem to want to push, his length. And I think that's a good call. I think you get a good start of him, you build that confidence. And that's what we've seen from yesterday's game. I really did like his outing. I mean, only 3 hits given up, 1 run, got only 2 Ks, which is fine if you're getting the job done. Something I probably want to see more from Yariel Rodriguez is the swing and miss stuff. But I think overall, going sort of to end the year, I think all you want to do is build Yariel Rodriguez confidence. And I think that is sort of what their plan is with this reduced innings, I'll say. Because, I mean, 4 1/3 just isn't going to cut it from your starters if you want them to go out there and give you consistent outings. But at the end of the day, I like what I saw from Yariel Rodriguez. I don't think there was necessarily a ton of terrible pitches. There was some that were left over the heart that I didn't love, and he ended up getting the miss on or a foul ball. But I think he's building up to where we want to see him. And again, I think the offseason is going to help that a ton as well.
Yeah, that's just typical Yariel Rodriguez. He's the guy that is going to the miss over the middle fairly often, and you just got to hold your breath and hope that it doesn't get launched over the moon and the stars every which way. But with Yariel Rodriguez, again, yeah, you don't want necessarily 4 1/3 innings, but with your 5th starter, is that the worst thing? He's going to keep you in the game. Probably not. Again, you're looking, obviously, you want every single time. You want your starters to go out and throw a no-hitter. You want them to pull Down Francis, but maybe do a little bit better in the ninth inning. With Dario Rodriguez, we've went over the innings thing, the fatigue stuff, just the length, and not wanting this guy to overextend himself, especially in a season where the games and the wins don't necessarily mean anything. So again, you want Dario Rodriguez to have some success. You want him to be consistent, and you want this guy to build up some confidence, as you were saying. But am I going to take Yari Rodriguez going 6 innings pitched in a meaningless game, or have him go 4 1/3, save the arm, and maybe you don't see the full extent, but you rest him, you make sure that this guy does not get injured, and you give him a full offseason with the MLB club on the MLB training program, and then hopefully he can come back in 2025 and improve on the stuff that he already worked on in the 2024 season.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you want from him. You want to build him up. You have a bunch of years left with him, and I think that's what they're going for. Carter, moving sort of away. I mean, again, we can go through the bullpen, but I just don't care enough right now to really talk anybody specifically. I think it was a good bullpen day all around. Yarborough was meh, sort of. I didn't, again, he gave up a run, didn't hate the stuff, but again, I don't, at the bullpen at this point, there's going to be so much changeover. I don't really want to go too in depth with it. We'll just have to see what happens in the offseason. Let's get into the stuff that matters here. We will talk a little bit more about Babe, but let's focus a little bit on some of these other guys, Carter. Nathan Lucas, man, he's just been so good.
Yeah, that's my guy. You gave me some weird looks when I said I want him to be in the next year's lineup based off of what he's done and just kind of what he's shown, maybe a little bit more experience. A guy that has been in the Blue Jays system for a decently long time, has obviously had some experience in the minor leagues. Another guy that just seems there's a plethora of these in the Toronto Blue Jays system. The bat-to-ball guys, the guys that can barrel baseballs a whole lot. You got guys like Ernie Clement. You got Spencer Horwitz. You got the Will Wagners of the world. You got a lot of these guys that have these shorter swings and have very good bat-to-ball skills and just rope baseballs on lines, whether it's in the gaps, down the line. Not necessarily the biggest power hitters of all time, but he's not striking out a whole lot, and he's putting good swings on the baseball, and that's what you want to see. Again, I made the joke last time about Nathan Lucas and his average, his MLB stats, stuff like that. He's hitting 350 this year. Again, am I taking a whole lot away from that? Not necessarily an 850 OPS. It's a very small sample size. From what Nathan Lucas has shown us in his very limited times in the MLB, this is something that he hasn't shown you any flaws. It's something that you can build on, and you don't want to be relying on Nathan Lucas as maybe an everyday guy going into next season. If this is a guy, maybe there's some injuries, maybe this is a bench bat that you want to utilize. There's things that need to change, but Nathan Lucas, if he can continue to show out for these next 12 games, and obviously spring training, the offseason, there's a lot of things that come into play here, but you're never going to have a problem with too many players on the Toronto Blue Jays playing too well and just having issues on who you want to start, who you want to sit. You want everyone to be playing as good as possible. And if Nathan Lucas gives you this problem, it's not something that I'm going to be complaining about, especially from a 30-year-old that has never really established himself in the major leagues.
Yeah, and that's going to be everybody's gripe with Nathan Lucas is he's getting up there. He's older than some of the guys we have in the system. Do we want to try to develop some of those younger guys? And that'll always be the argument, which I understand. I don't think that that's necessarily the worst argument to have, but I think if a guy's playing well right now, you want to utilize him. So I sort of get from both perspectives when we talk about Nathan Lucas. Carter, just sort of going down the lineup here. So anyways, I didn't even get into what he went on the Sunday game. He went 2 for 4 there with an RBI. Just a nice day out of the one spot. I mean, another guy I want to talk about, which we sort of was going over the past couple days. We ended up ripping an MLB The Show season. Ernie Clement going over 4 on Sunday. But shout out to him. The only gold player for the Toronto Blue Jays is Ernie Clement, which I think is just sort of a testament to what he's built up this season. You look at sort of the other guys. I mean, obviously you got Vlad as the diamond, which you could call it in MLB The Show. But Ernie Clement being the only gold player, does that shock you at all? I sort of throwing this on you sort of willy-nilly here, but.
Do you have any of the pitchers, even golds? Like you look at Berrios, Bassett, any of those guys, Gosman, no golds at all, just all probably high silvers, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Congrats to Ernie, just proving the doubters wrong. Is Ernie Clement better than a guy like Kevin Gosman? I don't know necessarily about that. Again, it is off of this season, but if you're giving me Ernie Clement on one side or Kevin Gosman on the other, I love Ernie Clement. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I'm putting my neck that far out on the line for Ernie Clement. But yeah, congrats to him. He's having a very good year, and definitely don't want to take anything away from him. But those MLB, those rankings and stat lines that they have on that game sometimes can definitely be interesting and aren't the most accurate all the time.
Yeah, and Carter, there's a couple more guys though. Obviously, we want to get into from this game, but I think the big one is Davis Schneider. He's the guy that we want to talk about, and because he really did have a hot weekend. And what does this mean for him? I think we're going to get into all that going into the second segment when we break down sort of the other two games. We don't want to necessarily break down every game, sort of game by game. This happened, this happened, this happened. We want to sort of give you the bigger picture. What does this mean moving forward? Where does this go? And that's the biggest question with Babe Schneider. Where do we go from here? We'll talk about that next. Today's episode of Locked On Blue Jays brought to you by FanDuel. As you guys all know, we love FanDuel here at Locked On Blue Jays, and there's a good reason why. America's #1 sportsbook. Well, now they have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Me and Carter talk about this all the time. Big football fans here. We're big fantasy guys. We're tuned in all the time. So this really helps us out, and hopefully it'll help you guys out as well. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So, Carter, we sort of brought it up here and there. It's time we talk about Babe Schneider. He had a weekend. He had a little bit of a weekend. I'll let you sort of break down the stats. I'll let you say what you want because you know where I'm going. You already know where I'm going.
Yeah, Davis Schneider could go 10 for 10, or you can go 0 for 10 in Braden's eyes. It's probably not going to fluctuate a whole lot. But the guy finally turned it around a little bit. We saw some flashes from Davis Schneider that we have not seen in a very long time from the kid. So obviously that was very nice to see. You want to see everyone on the Toronto Blue Jays succeed, especially the younger guys in Davis Schneider. But you look at this last game, you absolutely love to see it. We'll start with the third game because that's where we were at. We'll go over Davis Schneider. Then I got one more thing to add about that third game. Davis Schneider in this third game here, 2 for 3, had the home run, second one of the series. Obviously, a huge home run that put the Blue Jays over the hump, especially in a game where you didn't really have a lot of offense. Your offense was Davis Schneider and Nathan Lucas. You go over this whole series, 2 home runs for Davis Schneider, 5 for 10. This is what you're looking for from Davis Schneider. You went over that upside. You always go over the upside that Davis Schneider has. This is what you like to see this guy do. You want him to hit pull side home runs. You want him to barrel up the baseball. And he was hitting outside pitches to the pull side, which usually isn't the best recipe for success. But when you're barreling baseballs very well and you're as strong as Davis Schneider is, you can be caught out in front a little bit and use those hands to drive the baseball. So this is a guy that's always so fun to watch, especially when he's on. So if he can continue to hit home runs and just keep a pace that, again, you don't need this guy to hit 40 home runs. You don't need him to necessarily carry your offense. But if he can contribute 15 to 20 home runs a year, hit 230, and just be a guy that has a very good eye, gets on base fairly often, and just a little bit of a spark plug at the bottom of the order, that's exactly what you want to see. This is going to be a guy that's battling for a spot on the roster for 2025. Nice to see what Davis Schneider is doing. And like I said in the first segment, it's never going to be a problem if there's too many hitters on the Toronto Blue Jays hitting at once. You want these guys to battle. You want these guys to make each other better. And Davis Schneider, congrats to him for having a good series. Hopefully he can continue that for the last 12 games of the season. Maybe drive the Toronto Blue Jays to a playoff spot.
I don't know how long we can keep up that joke for here, Card. I mean, it is statistically possible. But again, I'm not. I don't want to say anything.
Unfortunately, the season was over about a month ago. But who knows? I'll gladly throw the hand up here. We can refresh on this and reinstate it 2 weeks from now and be like, yeah, Carter was the idiot. And I'll gladly take that one on the chin if somehow the Toronto Blue Jays can prove me wrong and actually make the playoffs. What a fun time that would be, getting a little bit of playoff experience for pretty much everyone is under 25. When you look at the lineup, obviously, other than a few guys. What a time that would be, selling at the trade deadline and still making the playoffs. But the other thing about Game 3, just quickly wanted to go over before it kind of gets lost in the sand here, is Leo Jimenez. An unbelievable. We were talking about defense and how defense was kind of the problem before this series. Obviously, Vladdy had some great defense plays in Game 1. Leo Jimenez, unbelievable on defense. Ernie Clement looked very smooth up there as well. As a quick shout out to him. But a ball that he just dives on his backhand, flips to second, and then obviously turns it to first. These are huge, obviously, to stop big rallies in innings. You got runners on first and second. You let that ball get through on the dive, that's possibly a guy scoring that could lead to bigger innings. You get that double play ball that is either ending the inning or there's 2 outs and probably a runner on third. Completely can change the effect of a ball game. So shout out to the defense entirely this weekend after a week where the defense was definitely hard to watch, especially for guys running a Blue Jays podcast at this time of the year.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, we're going to get into sort of Vlad's defense here coming up because that I think points to a bigger problem when you're looking at Toronto Blue Jays fans in general, and you know Vlad does stuff like this. But we'll get into that. I wanted to go back a little bit to the David Schneider stuff to talk about because, you know, got to throw in my 2 cents. I'm a guy that's going to 100% back David Schneider. I like him as a person. I like him as a baseball player, obviously. He wasn't playing good baseball. And everybody knows that. Everybody with eyes can see that. This is fun to see. And this is exactly what I'm talking about with upside baseball, right? David Schneider does that. You mentioned it, Carter. He brings that to the table. His upside is massive when he's playing well. He's a very strong guy, and he can crank the baseball, and he can play pretty, you know, steady defense. I'm not going to say it's blowing anything out of the water, but it's steady. What really shocked me, Carter, here, and I think the difference is this for David Schneider, and we've talked about this nonstop, is the ability to hit the high fastball. And that is something this series that he was able to do. He wasn't being taken advantage of by the high fastball. He was able to get a little bit of a piece on it. And that is what David Schneider needed to fix, because when pitchers know your weakness, they're going to take advantage of you. And they're going to take advantage of you until you make adjustments. And for a long time, David Schneider was not able to make that adjustment. Now we're looking at a series where he was able to hit the high fastball, and that weakness immediately goes away because now pitchers don't know where to go with you to beat you. And I think that was the biggest change this weekend for David Schneider, was the ability to get to the high fastball.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There's a lot of these fastballs were over the plate as well with these high fastballs, and he was just getting them. I tried to look at some of the swing changes. Again, it's a very small sample size, so I didn't want to overdo it. And it's not like there was this huge swing change. It's not like he completely changed something and all of a sudden something clicked. It's probably something very minor. Again, this is hopefully something we can carry on, but it is 3 games, a very small sample size for David Schneider. But when we're watching a game, we're definitely not going to be preying on this guy's downfall. We're going to enjoy it while it's here. So especially with 12 games left in the season, just hopefully he can go on a little bit of an insanity run to end the season, maybe spike up those numbers a little bit to make more of a case for him to be on the roster for 2025. Just barreling up baseballs. That's what you love to see from David Schneider. But going into some more game 2 stuff. By the way, David Schneider another home run in that game. First home run since June 22nd.
Yeah,
not what you're looking for from a guy like David Schneider. Almost 3 months since I hit a home run, but hey, you get the monkey off the back. Maybe David Schneider can hit 5 home runs in the next 2 weeks here and finish the season with a decent home run clip. The battle for 20, hopefully, is something that we can get after. Just needs to casual 8 home runs to get there. But Alejandro Kirk, another guy that I want to get into. One of the only times that I've seen Alejandro Kirk hit a ground ball in the infield and not get doubled up. There's bases loaded. Alejandro Kirk hits a kind of a weak ground ball too. I don't know what it is. This one I wanted to bring up. Stemming from this, I'm not saying Alejandro Kirk is fast, but is he getting faster? It looks like, I don't know. I don't have anything to back it up. Just eye test. Not saying he's fast, but it looks like he's working on a little something. Maybe he's losing a little bit of weight. Maybe he's got maybe it's the dad strength that's kicking in for Alejandro Kirk. Obviously coming off having his kid. I'm not sure what he's doing, but keep it up. Maybe you can get into that 20th percentile speed rankings on Baseball Savant. But obviously that guy run, you can tell that he's definitely putting out his full effort every single time. And this is another guy ever since the All-Star break has been playing pretty well. So obviously a little bit of a joke thrown at Alejandro Kirk there. But realistically, I have enjoyed watching this guy play. I might have to bite my tongue on this guy a little bit going into next season, but I want to see this at a bigger sample size. I'm not going to take it back too much now, but shout out to Alejandro Kirk for finding a little something here and getting into a groove in the second half of the season.
Yeah, it is nice to see, right? And this is a guy that there was question marks around after the Danny Jansen trade. And I think since the trade deadline, he has been able to come out and prove that he wants that spot as catcher. I know defensively, Alejandro Kirk is great. The way he frames pitches makes the case for him, but you need his bat to do something as well. And since the All-Star break, he's been better. He's looked better in many assets of his game. Carter, just in saying that, a couple more things I wanted to get into through game 2 as well. And Jose Berrios, I mean, the guy just ate. I mean, 7 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 4 Ks. Again, not a big strikeout rate, but again, he's getting the job done. That's what you need to see from these pitchers. And Jose Berrios has been doing that a little bit inconsistently, but all season long.
Just doing what he does. Absolutely, just doing what he does. You'll love to see it. Just the fastball is working, the slurves working. Everything that Jose Berrios seems to be throwing seems to be working for this guy. Again, I'm not worried about Jose Berrios. An absolute dog. What a signing by Ross Atkins. I'm not going to give this guy his flowers a lot of the time, but he hit one nail on the head with the Jose Berrios signing. A guy that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to rely on for the extended future. So love having this guy pitching for my team. A guy that not a lot of players in the league can you see the ball moving from the couch when you're watching it on TV. Jose Berrios is one of those guys. Just not enough good things to say about Jose Berrios. Another 7-inning performance. This guy who just goes out there, wakes up, and will throw 6 innings. Sometimes he'll give the long ball. He's going to give you innings no matter what. Sometimes the stuff isn't necessarily there. Even when he doesn't have it, he'll work through it, and he's just an innings eater. Like I said, won't get the strikeouts, but the weak contact is where Jose Berrios thrives.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly. You covered sort of everything. For the trade was huge, big move from Ross Atkins. We got some more stuff to get into. We want to talk about game 1, specifically Vladdy, and sort of what the talk is around his defense. You know, he has a Gold Glove. What does that mean? Has he proven himself as a good defender to you, the people listening? Let us know how you feel about Vlad. We're going to talk about it as well. A little bit of, big news coming from the Blue Jays and a possible trophy winner or award winner, I should say. And so we'll reveal who this possible award winner is right after this break.
Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play fantasy sports because it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you can pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. One of my favorite things about Prize Picks is you can make your picks and submit your entries in as little as 60 seconds. So no Toronto Blue Jays game on the Monday, but there is some football. And as you guys know, I'm a big football guy as well. So if you guys are going to be placing some bets, obviously you can do that on the MLB, but I'm going to be sticking to the NFL on this one. I got some Falcons guys. So I got more rushing yards on Bijan. I got him scoring a touchdown as well. And I got a little bit of a bounce back from Kirk Cousins. So I got him more than on passing yards as well. So you know which players are going to perform on specific nights. This is a no-brainer. Download Prize Picks to start making your picks today. You can download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit matchup to $100. It's code LOCKEDONMLB for first deposit matchup to $100. Prize Picks. Run your game.
So, Carter, just before we sort of continue into Vlad's defense, sort of a award nominee has been revealed for the Toronto Blue Jays. Each club has a nominee for 2024. It's the Roberto Clemente Award, and it has been Chris Bassitt. When Bassitt signed with the Blue Jays ahead of the 2023 season, he and his wife Jessica created Bassitt's Pitch In, an initiative focused on helping children find a sense of belonging through sport. The Bassitts have pledged to donate $10,000 for every game that the Blue Jays win in which Chris pitches. Proceeds support the Blue Jays charitable arm, Jays Care Foundation, and its Nike RBI Summer Edition program, a free sport for development program designed to enhance the mental health and physical health of kids in Toronto. That's coming from an article out on The Score, so check that out as well. If you want to read more on each team's nominee and sort of what they do throughout the league, make sure you go check that out. We like The Score sort of puts out some stuff like this once in a while and find it interesting, and it's a good read. So I gave that a read today on sort of what each MLB player's, nominee is doing for their respective cities and people sort of around baseball. So that's a great thing to see. But Carter, the big thing we want to get into here is Vlad's defense and sort of how it's looked at by the Jays, in Blue Jays land, we'll say. On Twitter, there's a lot of people saying that Vlad's defense is horrible and he's got to fix it. They don't think he can play third base. And a little bit, this goes to my argument. In game one, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. makes 3 really nice plays, 1 at third base, 2 at first base. And I'm not saying that I want Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to be an everyday third baseman, but I think with Spencer Horwitz opening a position for him, and if you're looking to put somebody at second, you could have Spencer Horwitz play 1, Vlad play 3 some games if you don't want to have either of them DHing, and then open up that DH and that second base slot for somebody else if you want those 2 bats in the lineup. Vlad's defensive game to me, Carter, and I've said this for a while now, looks way better. Yes, he has some of the plays that make you scratch your head and you're wondering how in the world did he not make that play or miss that ball, whatever you want to say. But it seems like he reminds me a little bit. I watched a video on Elliot De La Cruz, a guy that makes the unbelievable plays, that he can take plays away that every other player in the league won't make. But then sometimes on the easy ones, he makes an error. And I watched that video on Elliot De La Cruz, and it reminds me of Vlad. Vlad makes the spectacular play that's going to show up in the headlines, but then, yes, he will have the odd one that's an easy play that you think, okay, it's Vlad. He just made a diving play at third base. You'd think he'd be able to catch a one-hopper to first base, and he can't. It's an interesting conversation to have, and I think that a lot of Blue Jays fans are having. Is Vlad a good fielder, Carter?
It's an interesting conversation, and especially with the comparison to Ellie De La Cruz. There's some aspects of that are definitely spot on, but obviously there's the obvious ones that aren't necessarily what we're looking for. And you are right with that comparison. That Vladdy, for some reason, when he has the basic play, for some reason, it doesn't seem like he can make the play a lot of the time. And Vladdy isn't a guy that's going to range 100 yards to his left and make a diving play. It's going to be probably a hard hit ball that he has some good glove skills. He's going to make the play in that sense. So that's how Ellie and him kind of change in that factor. Obviously, again, when you say that, I just want to preface this. Yeah, you're not Vladdy and Ellie are different players, but in that aspect, they're making the tough plays, not necessarily making the easiest ones all the time. Do I want Vladdy to start at third base for an extended period of time? I'm sticking to this. I'm on the fence that I want offense over defense. I will definitely fall on my sword. And if Vladdy makes an odd error at third base, if that allows you to have Spencer Horwitz in the lineup, get some bats in your lineup, it's a lot more fun watching Toronto Blue Jays baseball games when you have the ability to score runs and not just make a nice play once in a while on defense. But I think if you leave Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at third base for a long period of time, you're just bound to cause problems with a guy like Vladdy. Vladdy's problem has never been throwing the baseball. You look at that at first base, you never really see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. making a throwing error a lot of the time. A lot of the time, it's a fielding error. He just can't get the glove on the ball or just misjudges it, whether it's a bobble, whether it's usually something with the glove. You're putting Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at the hot corner. That's not going to be a recipe for success, especially with a lot of right-handed sluggers in the league of Major League Baseball. And even looking at the AL East, you got Aaron Judge, you got Adley Rutschman, who's a switch hitter. You got Juan Soto, again, from the left-handed side, so not as prevalent. There are guys that can smack the ball in the AL East, and again, in the entire AL. So I think leaving Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at third base long-term is going to cause you some problems, especially with him not being able to make the easy plays, especially with third base being one of those positions that you're probably going to get a lot of ground balls. So looking at Vladdy in this series, probably one of the best first basemen in the league. When you're looking at an arm strength standpoint, you're looking at the plays he makes on a regular basis. I think you probably have to leave Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at first base. Sure, move him to third base once in a while. You can see some flexibility to bolster your lineup a little bit. But for a long-term solution, don't necessarily want to see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. play third base for the long term. But I just kind of want to quickly get into some of the plays that he was making in this game. So obviously he made one play at third base and a couple nice plays at first base. I'm going to start with the one at third base. Paul Goldschmidt ropes a ball to Vladdy, runner on third. Vladdy makes a very heads-up play, dives at the runner at third base, gets the tag, and then from his knees, kind of falling over still, throws the ball to first base. Spencer Horwitz kind of got to give this guy a little bit of grief here. You got to make that play. That would have been a highlight reel play for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That ball was like a four hopper. You should be able to track the ball if you're playing Major League Baseball. At this point, every single day. That one's kind of on you, Spencer Horwitz, but what a play from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. there. Going into the ninth inning, this one was probably the best one of the day. The Nolan Arenado hard hit ball to Vladdy. Dives full extension on the backhand, makes a diving play, obviously throwing the ball to first base. That saves a run in the ninth inning. You would have went into the bottom of the ninth being down 1 run. That's usually not a recipe for success for this Toronto Blue Jays team. So another one there. And then another ball, feeling it behind him, just making a play to first base. I believe that one was in the 10th. Just back to back to back, unbelievable plays from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. When you're playing that kind of defense, making these flashy plays, you can probably see why that Gold Glove was won in 2022. But again, with that Gold Glove, there's some red flags there. I'm not going to live in the past. I'm not going to harp on Vladdy's defense too much. When he makes good plays, great. I want him to make the basic ones. But with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., as long as he's hitting the baseball hard, he could be picking dandelions in the outfield or in the infield. I couldn't care less. Just want this guy to hit the baseball. But it is fun to see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just be a multi-dimensional player.
Yeah, and I think that's the key for this. And I agree with you. I don't think Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s position is going to be third base. I think it does give you flexibility. Vlad can be that DH. He can be that first baseman, and he can, take some games at 3. And I think that's the key here is it gives you a lot of room to move around and get the bats that are hot into the lineup in different ways. And I think that's huge. I think that, the odd game, if you want to put him at 3, absolutely, I'm down for it because, it is fun to watch him out there. He's fun. He's electric. He gets the boys going, and he makes those highlight reel plays once in a while. So in that aspect, 100%. Carter, the other guy, I know we talked about him already, Alejandro Kirk in this game, absolutely just one of the clutchest mans of all time for that 10-second period. That was fun to watch. I mean, again, this is Blue Jays baseball. When it's extra inning Blue Jays baseball, it's tough just not to get into it again and feel excited. And that was sort of me during that game. It's just it takes me back. It takes me out of the situation we're in a little bit of not making the playoffs, trading away a bunch of guys, unsure of the future. I sort of live in the moment for those where it's just like, wow, okay. What a fun time to watch Blue Jays baseball.
Yeah, that was a great moment. His first one of his career. That's probably the biggest you're going to see Alejandro Kirk smile probably ever on a baseball field. An easy guy to get behind. When Alejandro Kirk, it's almost like it's like a puppy in some senses. When you see a puppy, it lights up your world and you kind of get excited. Alejandro Kirk, when I see that guy having a good time, smiling on the baseball field, it lights me up a little bit as well. It's a guy that you need to be successful if you want your Toronto Blue Jays team to be successful, especially for the future from where we are right now, moving Danny Jansen at this trade deadline. This is your full-time catcher going into 2025, unless something crazy happens in this offseason, you make a huge trade line deal. Something weird would have to happen. Again, you're looking at the free agents, not a lot of good guys. You're probably going to get a defensive catcher, someone that can play the defensive position of catcher very well, but probably is going to hit like 180, and you're going to have to be okay with that at this day and age in the major leagues. But this guy was just doing jobs in the first game. A single in the bottom of the 4th to drive in a run. And then when he comes in the bottom of the 11th, Will Wagner just has a good at bat, a tough ground out second baseman. You got the outfield playing in, you got the infield playing in, not everyone playing in. Obviously, you just can't have anything hit to the outfield because you have to go home with this play. Obviously, you can't allow a run in. Alejandro Kirk does the job and hits the ball to the warning track. No player in the league is going to be able to throw the ball from the warning track to home before a runner from third can get home. So you do that in any ballpark, it's going to be a good enough for a run in that situation. So that's what you want him to do in that situation. You want to hit the ball in the air. It's exactly what Alejandro Kirk did. And again, congrats to him for his first ever walk-off of his major league career.
Yeah, dude, it was fun. And you know what, just before we get out of here, it's fun to go over these games and when little storylines pop up. But I did want to throw this in. Kevin Gausman, 7 innings pitched, 9 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts only, 2 walks, and of course, didn't give up any home runs. So just a little shout out to him. It was a good outing. Again, a decent amount of hits, not as many strikeouts as I'm used to Kevin Gausman throwing, I'll say. But pretty good outing overall. I mean, if you go 7, and only giving up 2 runs, you take that.
For sure. I have a lot of things I want to say about Kevin Gausman. A little bit of an up and down season from that guy, but I think I'm going to save a lot of it for tomorrow. I want to get into kind of what went wrong with Kevin Gausman, how it can get better, and just how he's been recently, because I think the start of the season kind of inflated those Kevin Gausman stats a little bit like Eric Swanson. Again, not to that degree necessarily, but I'll get more into that for tomorrow's episode. But overall, you just quickly get into this weekend. You look at the direction this Toronto Blue Jays team is going, and you don't want them to win baseball games in that sense. But as a fan, what a weekend. Just a great weekend of baseball. It was fun to watch these games. It's a lot more fun to win, believe it or not. I don't like losing, whether it's just watching a team lose, being involved with losing. Losing sucks. We'll leave it at that. You don't want to lose in sports, believe it or not.
Yeah, I'm the same way. You know what? I love winning, but what's the Moneyball quote? Hate losing even more. These, it's just, that's exactly how I feel.
You want to hate losing more than you want to love winning.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, nail on the head. And as always, guys, we appreciate you making us your first listen every day. If you want sort of like a broader, MLB big storylines sort of look, make sure you go check out Locked On MLB with host Sully. He runs a great show over there. So go make him your second listen if you haven't already. Make sure you drop a subscription there. So if any big news from the entirety of the MLB, I mean, we cover them little bits and pieces, but we're focused on the Blue Jays because that's the team we like. But if you want a little bit more big storylines, big idea stuff, check out Locked On MLB anywhere you get your podcasts and on YouTube here as well. As always, appreciate you guys watching. It was a blast of a weekend. Carter talked about it. I talked about it. I mean, just a lot of stuff to come out of here. And hopefully the Blue Jays can go 12-0 and somehow squeak into the playoffs. Let's hope for that.
Next time we talk to you guys, hopefully we're 4.5 games back, just battling, getting in this last wild card spot for the Toronto Blue Jays. Maybe we'll end up playing a Central team again. It'll be interesting. Again, we'll take it game by game, pitch by pitch. Don't want to get too excited here, but we're back. The Toronto Blue Jays are back. Okay, well, we'll talk to you guys more about this stuff tomorrow, and we'll probably be reeling the fish back in after, hopefully not, but Toronto Blue Jays lost that could definitely see on our horizons. But we'll talk to you guys more about that kind of stuff tomorrow.